All right. Today, we're changing out a water pump, I think. Alright, so today we are working on a 2007 Buick Lucerne. I think it's got a bad water pump. I came out of work last week and the car had relieved itself all over the ground. It just decided to out its antifreeze. So I went in, filled it up with some water, drove it home. The car never overheated, never got hot. I'm assuming it's a water pump. I'm not exactly sure. The area that it's leaking down from the engine sure looks to be a water pump type area. Not exactly sure what we're going to get into, but what we're going to do is we're going to just take apart the coolant to overflow. We're going to pull this dog bone, guys, see if we can take a peek in there and get a better look at her just to see what the heck is going on. Hopefully we find it's got a bad water pump, because I really don't want to change a head gasket or an intake manifold. So stick around, that's what we're up to. I can smell antifreeze, I can tell you that. Okay, well, we got a puddle on the floor. She's dripping good. Well, fired it up. It's leaking like crazy. It's dripping bad. But it's darn near impossible for me to figure out where it's coming from. So I'm just going to make the assumption that it's the water pump. And we're going to tear into it. So hopefully we'll have a very, very precise... Hopefully we find something that shows us that yes, it was the water pump. Otherwise I'm not going to be feeling good about it. So we're going to tear into her. We'll see what we come up with. So this right here is a ground wire that was on one of the bolts that was connecting that bracket to the engine, and it just freaking smoked it. So yeah, we're going to put a new end on that. But that's just, you know, when you're working on this stuff, you just got to be aware as you're deconstructing, because sometimes you can do things like that along the way and you don't even know it. And the next thing you know, you put everything back together and all of a sudden you've got electrical issues or gremlins. So you got to be aware of what you're doing and as you're going through each step, because you just never know what you might break along the way. This stuff is old and it's brittle. So as you're working on these things, keep aware, keep an eye out for any potential hazards or issues you might run into. And I believe this is just probably a ground system for the sensors. I don't know, but we will we'll get a new end on there. Not a big deal. I got that stuff laying around, so. Okay, we got the repair done. So what we did is put a new end on here, heat shrinked her up, sealed it up real good. We don't want to create ground issues in the future, because you know, this thing's got 180,000 miles. I'm expecting it to go another 180. So we went and shrinked her up real good. Ooh, look at that. I mean, this is a deteriorated harness there. It's all over. The split loom that they used back in the early mid-2000s wasn't the best. Anyways, we got that fixed, so we're gonna continue on. Find our leak. Well, we found the leak. Okay. I better get my flashlight. So, you know, again, just get your bearings. There's the water pump. And then this is the radiator inlet, you know, from the hose that comes from the lower part of the radiator. Comes across. And you see right down in there? Right down in there. Right there. Down and on the block. Man, this is hard to get on the video because I don't have a ton of room. So, this is leaking. this is leaking right down in there between the block and I think the timing chain housing, right down in there. Not good. All I have to say is no bueno. And I don't even know if you guys can tell, but trust me, it's leaking down there. Proved it, and yeah, maybe you can see it now. Camera just doesn't know what it's doing. But don't zoom in on that. There you go. So down in there, she's leaking. Get this thing to focus. There we go. Anyways, it's down in there. Down in there. And that is like the, so if you're looking at it from here, so if we're looking at it from here, so there's our water pump. Then we got the water pump housing, and I think that this is all the timing chain housing too. So the timing chain housing and everything, and it looks like it's leaking between the timing chain housing and the block. So we're gonna have to do some research. So we're gonna have to do some research and take a to figure out what that's all gonna entail. I think it's just a cover. You know, I have had a little bit of experience working on an old Pontiac, but and I think it's very similar to that. So we're going into research mode. So we discovered the leak. It was not the water pump. So I don't know. I might just change it because I got it. The water pump itself, if I do have to change it later on, not a big deal. I probably would have been done already. I've got to be like 20 to maybe 30 minutes into this deal. Checking my other camera's time. But, so, yeah. So basically how this engine works, and hopefully I can find some good like video breakdowns of this somewhere on the intraweb. But how this engine works is basically there is a water pump that bolts to a housing that bolts to the block. And that housing basically I think is like the front main seal. It might be like, it houses the timing chain. There might be some tensioners in it. But it looks to me that that's what's sealing. Or it looks to me that's what's leaking. What I did is I was able to compress air and pressurize the system, and water spewed out of there. So most definitely found the leak. Not ideal by the least. So we're gonna have way more deconstruction going on here than what I originally intended to do. But it's okay, we're in good shape. So I'm gonna do a little bit of research on the old intraweb. We're gonna find out as much as I can about the process, how the parts fit, what the seal is, if there's a gasket I need to pick up. I don't know. I mean, I'm learning on the fly here. So stand by, we're gonna do a little more research and get back to the action. Well, I figured out that we're gonna need more parts. So we're gonna get some gaskets for the timing chain housing. I watched a video. I'll do a link or something to the video I watched. I don't know the name of it off the top of my head, but it was very well done. So make sure you check out that channel. Like I said, I'll figure out a way to get a link or something. But we're gonna jump in the old March here, and we're gonna cruise up to the store, and we are going to go get some parts. So we might actually get this project done today. We got a lot to do. I still got to tear everything apart, but I'm glad to know that we got the parts. The idea was I was going to cruise up there. My original plan was to just cruise up to the auto parts store and get the parts on order, so then that way maybe I'd have a chance to get them later today. Well, to my pleasant surprise, they had them in stock. So, I don't know. See you back at the shop. Okay, elbows deep in this thing. I could not get the harmonic balancer bolt out. Could not. I've torched that thing. I was heating it up. I was worried I was putting so much heat into it that it was going to end up jacking up the harmonic balancer. Because, you know, there's a rubber membrane in there that kind of dampens all those harmonics. And it's important. So I'm like, you know what? There is 3 holes in that balancer. First and foremost, I really don't know how this thing is designed, that harmonic balancer. Like, I don't know if it's a 2-piece deal, 3-piece deal. I don't know if it's a 1-piece deal. I don't know. It's some sort of a deal, and I couldn't get the dang thing off. So what I did is I ended up taking a piece of scrap metal, and I utilized the holes for the harmonic balancer that you would pull with, right? So what I did is I think that's a 5/16. This is a piece of aluminum. I tapped it and basically wedged it in right here, and then I put the pry bar of death on there and got that sucker out of there. So we're making some progress. A little bit of a hiccup, but we're making our way. I'll give you a better shot of what this thing looks like here. She's got So basically, here's what I did. I just threw this sucker in the vise, and so here's what it looks like. Here's what it looks like. Basically, just took a piece of scrap metal, real strategic cuts, you can tell here, you know, some of the finest quality, and I just tapped it, put 2 screws through it, 2 bolts, like 5/16 or 1/4-20, I don't know what the hell they are, but there's something like that. I just tapped the hole. I found a tap, and we just tapped the hole, and used the template right here. So I used this template, and I just set it on there and tapped it with a hammer. Got my locations, took a screwdriver and punched the spots, and then took a Sharpie and basically transferred that over to this, which then I relieved this because I needed some room to get the ratchet, or to get the socket on there. So that held it, popped that sucker right off. We're making progress, dang it. We're making progress. Okay, so we're gonna use this puller. I'm gonna make that work. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to thread the bolt in a little bit, create like a 1/4-inch gap. I got some hardware, but they're not long enough, so we gotta run to the store and get some bolts. But I think is what I'll be able to do is I'll be able to just pull that out, take it apart, thread that, pull it out, you know, do something like that. I think it should work just fine, so we'll find out. Otherwise, we'll figure something. Maybe I'll make another tool. We'll see in a few. All right, so when I'm in there trying to get some antifreeze out and I'm working on something, I like to take the old shop vac, stick it in somewhere in a hose or something, and just give her the beans. Back you suck, back you suck, back you suck. Okay, so here's where I'm at. Got everything cleaned up. Got the water pump area cleaned up. I put the new front main seal in it. Came with the kit. Got all of the gasket and mating surfaces all cleaned up. Everything there looks great. I am going to have to run to the parts store and get some of these plastic elbow tees, these elbows that are in the like the heater deal. Anyways, we'll look at those in a little bit. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this all assembled and just see if we have any issues. And if we have any additional issues, at least I'm going to the parts store just one more time instead of 3 more times. Okay, here we go. Going in. All right, good news. We're going back together. We got the new gasket in. We got the time machine cover on. We got it all bolted in. We've got the harness hooked back up. And the harmonic balancer is installed. I just used the bolt and just torqued her on down with the impact. It went on without issue. I cleaned it up real good, put a little WD-40 on it just to make sure she had a smooth ride going on. So now I'm gonna slap the water pump on, and then I gotta go to the store and get these plastic tees because mine were disintegrated. I'm fairly confident. I've been smelling antifreeze in this car for probably like, you know, 3 years. But this right here is a plastic elbow that goes there. I'll show you once we get them. I think the replacements are steel. But there's one that goes there, and then I think there's one that kind of goes into the water pump. I don't know. But I'll show you once I get them. I got to run to the store again. Okay, so we got the heater aluminum adapter gizmo that the heater line's hooked up, set up. But what I want you guys to notice is take a look here. You know, these are plastic stock, and then we got one that's down there as well. You can pick these up at your local auto parts store, and then there is the part number right there. These are in the help section. So they're called aluminum heater hose fittings. So anyways, there's a part number for you. If you're going to do something like this, or if that bracket is coming off for any reason, and those are still stock, buy the replacements, because God forbid something like that goes amok, you know, like 100 miles from now, and you got to tear all this thing apart again. All right, thanks. Well, you're never going to believe it. You're never going to believe it. But the car is back together. Look at that. It's amazing. Oh my gosh, look at that. Surge tank's in, serpentine belt's on, alternator's back in, dog bones on, coil packs are back where they belong. Holy cow, what a project. Look down here, you can see the shiny new water pump. What a project. So basically took the whole front of the motor off and replaced the gasket, put it all back together. You know, all in all, it wasn't bad, wasn't a bad deal. Thankfully for YouTube, I was able to get stuff figured out. But hopefully it doesn't leak. I haven't actually tried it yet, but the one thing I'm missing is coolant. So I thought I had some, but I guess I don't. I only had jugs of water, so I'm gonna pick some of that up probably tonight. But anyways, I'm gonna wrap this up for the night. I'll finish this up tomorrow, and I'm gonna roll the whole family down in March to North St. Paul. I finally own a car old enough to be able to cruise through there. I've never done that, so that'll be fun. And we'll check in. I'll check in with y'all and give you an update once we get down there. All right, here we go. Unleash hell!